In the darkness of the ocean, where the waves whisper tales no one dares to tell, the legend of the Flying Dutchman was born, an icy warning from the realm of the dead. The story begins in 1641, near the treacherous waters of the Cape of Good Hope, South Africa, a place sailors once called the cemetery of the ocean. This was where ships vanished without a trace, where the wind howled like the cries of imprisoned souls, and where a terrifying curse was born, haunting humanity for nearly 4 centuries. According to historical records, the Flying Dutchman, a proud merchant ship of the Dutch East India Company, was laden with spices, silk, and gold from colonies in the Far East. Captain Hendrik van der Decken, a man of burning ambition and unmatched arrogance, stood at the helm. He was described as a tall man, with eyes as cold as steel and a voice that echoed like thunder. Sailors whispered that Van der Decken not only challenged the sea but defied God himself, a sin unthinkable in those times. On a fateful night in 1641, the ship approached the Cape of Good Hope, where sudden storms could devour any vessel. Dark clouds gathered, shrouding the sky, and the ocean roared as if it sought to tear everything apart. The crew begged Van der Decken to change course and seek shelter, but he laughed loudly, his voice rising above the storm. "Be it devil or God who stands in my way, I will pass this cape," he shouted, his eyes glowing with madness. Some say he cursed fate itself and swore to complete his voyage, even if he had to wander until the end of time. The storm, as if summoned by his curse, struck with terrifying force. Waves as tall as mountains crushed the ship, wood splintered and sails were torn like paper. An old sailor, in his final moments, claimed he saw a massive shadow, not a storm cloud but a supernatural entity, engulfing the ship. Van der Decken's screams blended with the wails of his crew as the vessel was dragged to the ocean floor, leaving not even a single fragment behind. But that was not the end. According to legend, Van der Decken's curse awakened a dark force, binding the ship and its crew to a horrifying fate. The Flying Dutchman did not sink like other ships. Instead, it became a ghostly vessel, rotting, seaweed-covered, with tattered sails fluttering in eerie winds. Captain Van der Decken, no longer human, now appeared with eyes glowing red like burning coal, standing at the bow, leading his cursed crew. Stories passed down say the ghost ship appears in thick fog or during violent storms, gliding over the sea without wind, as if driven by an invisible force. Those who see it often hear mournful singing, mixed with groans and the sound of ropes scraping against decaying wood. Some claim the ship emits an eerie red glow as if lit by hellfire. But the most terrifying is Van der Decken's whisper, echoing across the waves, "Join me or die." 17th century sailors believed seeing the Flying Dutchman was an omen of death. The ship didn't just wander, it hunted, luring other vessels into reefs, shoals, or inescapable storms. Some stories say unlucky sailors were dragged into the sea, becoming part of the cursed crew forever bound to Van der Decken's fate. The earliest records of the legend appeared in Dutch maritime journals in the late 17th century, describing the ship as a ghost of pride, a grim reminder of the consequences of defying nature and the divine. Though there is no physical evidence of the ship, the story spread from taverns in Amsterdam to docks in London, becoming a seafarer's nightmare. The Cape of Good Hope, with its endless storms and dense fog, became the stage for the ghost ship's hauntings. By the 19th century, the legend had spread beyond sailors, becoming part of popular culture, evoking primal fear of the ocean, a realm even science cannot fully explain. If the Flying Dutchman is merely a tale woven by drunken sailors in harbor taverns, then why have stories of this ghostly ship been recorded in such chilling detail across centuries? From British warships to South African fishermen, those who claim to have encountered Captain Hendrik van der Decken's ship all recount the same horror, a rotting vessel gliding through the mist carrying the curse of death. The following accounts, gathered from maritime logs, official reports, and oral testimonies, paint a grim picture of encounters with the Flying Dutchman, where reality and nightmare intertwine. One of the most notable records occurred at dawn on July 11, 1881, aboard the Royal Navy warship HMS Bacchante as it passed near the Cape of Good Hope. A lookout, stationed high above, suddenly shouted when he spotted a ship glowing red, motionless amidst the raging waves. The ship's log, recorded by an officer who would later become King George V, described. The ship looked as though it were lit by the fires of hell, with tattered sails flying despite the still air. A tall figure stood at the bow, eyes glowing red as if piercing through my soul. Days later, the lookout fell from the mast into the sea and vanished, as if claimed by the ghostly ship. The sailors whispered that they had heard sorrowful singing, mingled with the sound of ropes scraping against rotting wood, echoing even when the sea was calm. Some reported that the ship's compass spun wildly, as if manipulated by an invisible force. Another incident, recorded in March 1939, occurred at Glencairn Beach, South Africa. Dozens of witnesses, from fishermen to tourists, reported seeing a 17th-century vessel suddenly appear in calm weather. A local man, Mr. Johann Pretorius, recounted. It came out of nowhere, as if lifted from the bottom of the sea. The hull was covered in seaweed, and I swear I saw shadowy figures moving on deck. A moaning sound rose, like the ocean itself was weeping. Moments later, the ship vanished like mist, leaving the crowd in shock. Some claimed they smelled intense salt and rotting wood, even though no ship was nearby. Others said they felt an icy chill, as if an invisible hand touched the back of their necks. A piece of driftwood washed ashore after the event, inscribed with Old Dutch words, "Tot de dag der ordeals," until the day of judgment. When a fisherman tried to carry the wood home, it burst into flames in his hands, leaving strange burn marks behind. The last confirmed sighting came in 1942 in Table Bay, Cape Town. 4 witnesses, including a South African naval officer, reported seeing an old ship enter the bay under the pale moonlight. One witness, Mrs. Anna Van Wyk, described. It glided into the bay without creating waves, as if it didn't belong to this world. I heard whispers like spirits calling my name. Then the ship vanished as if swallowed by darkness. Shortly after this event, a sudden storm struck, sinking a nearby fishing boat. Surviving sailors claimed they saw a figure with glowing red eyes standing on the water, pointing toward their ship just before it was engulfed by waves. Beyond these accounts, many other stories from the 18th and 19th centuries describe the Flying Dutchman as a harbinger of death. Sailors said the ship often appeared in thick fog or during storms, luring other vessels into reefs or shallows. Some reported hearing Vander Decken's voice shouting through the wind, repeating his curse, "I shall return even if it is forever." Ships that spotted it frequently suffered disasters, from engine failure and fires to vanishing without a trace. Accompanying supernatural phenomena, such as spinning compasses, eerie red lights, and ghostly singing, added to the mystery. Some reports describe skeletal hands gripping the sides of passing ships, leaving scorched marks behind. Though there is no physical evidence, the consistency of these stories, from Europe to South Africa, makes them hard to dismiss. Is the Flying Dutchman merely a hallucination of exhausted sailors, or is it a supernatural entity, bound by an eternal curse? In the darkness of the ocean, where the light of science tries to pierce the veil of mystery, the legend of the Flying Dutchman stands firm as a challenge to human reason. Although scientists have attempted to decode this phenomenon through the lens of physics and psychology, Captain Hendrik Vander Decken's ghost ship remains an unsolved enigma, a specter haunting the minds of those who dare venture near the Cape of Good Hope. But is this ship merely a seaborne illusion, or proof of a supernatural force beyond human understanding? And why, after centuries, does its story still endure, seeping into popular culture and stirring a primal fear in humanity? Scientists from the 19th century to today have proposed many theories to explain sightings of the Flying Dutchman. The most common explanation is the Fata Morgana phenomenon, an optical illusion caused when light bends through layers of air at different temperatures, creating distorted images of ships on the horizon. The Cape of Good Hope, with its harsh weather, dense fog, and powerful Agulhas current, is an ideal setting for such illusions. A distant ship can appear to float above the water with twisted sails, easily mistaken for a ghostly vessel. However, Fata Morgana cannot explain every detail. The moaning sounds, mournful songs, and whispers in Old Dutch such as Tat de Dag der ordeals, until the Day of Judgment, reported by witnesses cannot be attributed to light or weather. Another theory points to maritime psychology. Sailors, often under stress, sleep deprivation and fear of the vast sea, may experience collective hallucinations. The sound of wind through rigging, waves hitting the hull, or light reflecting off fog can be interpreted by a weary mind as a haunted ship and its cursed crew. Some modern researchers suggest unusual electromagnetic phenomena at the Cape of Good Hope, caused by intersecting ocean currents and the Earth's magnetic field, may disrupt navigation equipment. This might explain spinning compasses or radar displaying false signals. These effects, combined with heavy fog, could create a sense of supernatural presence. Yet even with the most advanced technology of 2025, no wreckage, artifacts, or physical evidence of the Flying Dutchman has ever been found. The carved wooden planks, scorched marks, or recorded moaning sounds all vanish mysteriously, as if swallowed by the ocean itself. Though science tries to explain, the allure of the Flying Dutchman lies not in physical truth but in its ability to awaken deep-seated human fears. The fear of the ocean, where even the brightest minds feel small. This legend has sailed far beyond Dutch and British ports, becoming part of global pop culture, especially in the United States, where audiences are drawn to eerie tales of the sea. In literature, the legend was immortalized in Richard Wagner's opera Der Fliegende Holländer, 1843, where the cursed ship and captain symbolize redemption and fate. In America, the story gained mass popularity through blockbuster films like Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest and At World's End, 2006 to 2007, featuring Captain Davy Jones, a fictional version of Decken, commanding a ghost ship with a mutated crew covered in seaweed and coral. These images, though exaggerated by Hollywood, etched the Flying Dutchman into the American psyche as a symbol of maritime horror and mystery. The legend also appears in American television shows, books, and comics, often told as a chilling tale of human arrogance against nature. It resonates with American culture, where the ocean is viewed as a final frontier, dangerous and unexplored. Maritime museums in Boston and San Diego have even hosted exhibitions about the legend, displaying replicas of 19th-century ship logs and paintings of the ghost ship drifting through the fog. Is the Flying Dutchman merely a product of illusion and imagination, or a supernatural entity bound by Decken's curse? Science may offer partial explanations, but it cannot erase the fear this story instills. From King George V's records to eyewitnesses in Table Bay, this legend continues to live on as a reminder that the ocean is not just water. It is a realm where cursed souls still wander, waiting for the brave to cross into their domain.